Welcome to another episode of Diary of a Wannabe Comedian with me, Belle, a wannabe comedian. I cannot believe how long my podcast was on Monday. I'm absolutely going to try and make sure it's not that long today. And I also appreciate there isn't an awful lot of comedy content. When you log onto this podcast, you're expecting that. But I am having another break. I do find comedy very hard this time of year. I've got quite a lot of admin, shall we say, on my plate at the moment that I'm dealing with. I'm sure I'll talk about it one day, but now is not the time because I'm right in the middle, embroiled in all sorts of things. And so I'm just really focusing on my other passion, which is free speech. And to that end, there's one horrific thing that happened by a tax-paid organisation, that's the BBC. Effectively, they have, in my opinion, committed a hate crime. They have spliced together the president of another country, i.e. President Trump. They've spliced together one of his speeches to make it look like he was inciting violence. And it's just disgraceful. The BBC are paid by taxpayers and they are actively putting out misinformation. I mean, that's just wrong. People are, quite frankly, horrified. Not enough, but people are horrified. The other thing on free speech, again, I'm going to caveat this. It doesn't matter what you think about the character. There is a very important free speech part to this. Tommy Robinson was found not guilty of terror offences. And my shout out goes to the judge because I think he was amazing. Sam Goozee, essentially, he realised that Tommy Robinson was pulled over because of his political beliefs and not through any genuine crime or belief that a crime may have been committed. Tommy Robinson was pulled over on terrorist charges. And I think there's a quote from Alistair Williamson, who was his KC, and he said something along the lines of, if MI5 didn't think that Mr. Lennon is a terrorist, what did PC Thorogood think he was going to learn by asking him about publicly available information? Which I thought was brilliant. Honestly, some of these barristers, they are just class. They really are. But I think Tommy Robinson was going on holiday. He's got links to Benidorm and he was going there and he was pulled over at the border and interrogated for 40-50 minutes. And the police cannot even remember what questions they asked him. But as I say, it doesn't matter what you think of Tommy Robinson. There's a point here that you should not be pulled over just because of who you are and the fact that you voice your opinions. I could be pulled over because somebody takes against my podcast and the things I say on my podcast by that same measure, which horrifies me. I mean, obviously it's not going to happen because nobody listens to it. But, you know, we can live in hope. There's another hero that I'd like to give a shout out to, and that is Zitouni, who was a crew member who put himself in harm's way of the marauding attackers that attacked a train on Saturday evening, I think it was. There was one or two guys were running up a train and stabbing people, and this guy, Zitouni, he is in the hospital, I believe, very ill, because he put himself in harm's way and took a lot of blows. And I hope he gets recognised when he's out, fit and well. I hope he gets recognised for his heroism. I'm sure he will. Actually, there's a point there, isn't there, that Tommy Robinson was pulled over under the Terrorism Act, or at least he was arrested because he wouldn't give the PIN of his phone. And then they did him under the Terrorism Act because of that. Something like that. Whereas these guys that were running up and down a train stabbing people, initially it was said this is an act of terrorism, and then it was downgraded. And you just think, so not handing over your PIN to your phone is terrorism? I mean, obviously not, because the judge found it wasn't. But that's what the police were trying to do. Anyway, I don't want to keep on down that. And you get the point. This country, there's a lot of problems with this country at the moment. And the government are not sorting it out, but that's another issue. Anyway, let's move on to an impossible decision. Would you rather start your life over as a child or skip forward in your life by 5 years? Much love and gratitude.